We have a wild experiment to show you today. We're gonna take this USDA Prime Brisket, trim it up, and then marinate it in buttermilk for 1 week. After that week is passed, we're gonna smoke it side by side with a regular USDA Prime Brisket and compare what it does to the meat. So while we're trimming this up, let me just tell you why we chose buttermilk. So buttermilk naturally tenderizes meat. It has a super high acidity. It also has enzymes in it like protease, which naturally break down the meat and tenderize it as well. On top of all that, it should add quite a bit of moisture, which should help keep the brisket moist during the smoking period. So we're gonna do a little bit of over trimming here. Normally I'd probably leave a little bit of that fat around the center portion of the point there, but we're gonna remove that so we can fully submerge this in the buttermilk. We're gonna try to leave about a 1/4 inch fat cap on the back side of the brisket. Once it's fully trimmed up, it'll look something like this. Now let's get this thing marinated. So this took 4 bottles of buttermilk. And at this point, I'm really hoping that I'm not wasting a brisket here. I hope this doesn't ruin the taste. We're gonna let this sit now in our walk-in cooler just like this for 7 days. We're gonna make sure we rotate it every few days. This is what the brisket looks like after 7 days in that cooler. You can see that red on the outside, that's not blood, that's myoglobin that's been released from the meat. Let's get this thing out of the buttermilk and rinsed off, and let's see what we're working with. So here it is all rinsed off. It almost looks like corned beef. It's been completely grayed out as if it was in salt water. It's definitely lighter. The texture feels a little bit softer, surprisingly. Let's compare that to a regular USDA Prime Brisket. Look at the color difference here. So this is the one I'm gonna be doing as a control. We're gonna cook these side by side. We're gonna do these Texas style. Just gonna season it with our house rub, which is mainly just salt and pepper. It has a little bit of garlic powder in there too. Get these fully covered on both sides. We're gonna leave them seasoned just like this until midnight tonight, and then these are going on the smoker. So we're back at my house now. It is midnight, it is 35 degrees outside. I have the smoker going at 225 degrees. Let's get some meat thermometers in these and put these on the smoker. Have the probe set to 175 degrees for an internal temp. At that point, we will wrap them up. I'm going to bed. All right, it's about 8 in the morning here. We're checking in on these. We have the buttermilk brisket on the top and the regular brisket on the bottom. These are looking just like a normal smoke at this point. It's gonna take some time to get to 175 degrees. They're gonna have to go through the stalling state, which is right around 160. Once they get past 175, we're gonna wrap them up in butcher paper with a little bit of Japanese Wagyu beef tallow. I did end up double wrapping these. You have the buttermilk on top, the regular on the bottom. We're smoking these to an internal temp of 203. And these puppies are done. Let's let them rest. I'm gonna let these rest all the way back down to an internal temp of 145 degrees Fahrenheit. That allows the liquids to cool and reabsorb into the meat. I cannot wait to see what these things are gonna look like. First up, let's show you the traditional brisket and see how it's smoked up. And that is looking pretty perfect if you ask me. Nice dark bark. Can definitely tell it's juicy. Let's open up the buttermilk brisket. It still looks good, but the bark is definitely not as dark in the middle. Let's cut into this and see what we're working with. Okay, despite that weak bark, this has an awesome smoke ring. It's super juicy. This looks like a really well-smoked brisket. I'm so happy with this right now. Let's go in for a closer look. Take a peek at that thing. Great smoke ring. This is the buttermilk brisket. Let's compare that to the traditional brisket, and this is number 2. Man, the traditional one does just look a little bit better. I don't know if it's from the bark, but it all comes down to taste. Let's cut these up and see what we're working with. The regular brisket came out damn near perfect. Crazy tender. This little piece of the point here, oh my God. Let's cut into that buttermilk brisket. So right off the bat, texture-wise, it seems to be a little bit firmer. You can even hear it cutting it, staying together pretty well. As far as taste goes, I didn't get any buttermilk flavor whatsoever. It really just tasted like a regular brisket. The texture may have changed just slightly. It seems to pull apart a little bit less, but it was still very tender. You can see right here just pulling off the top. I don't think you'd be able to tell a difference having these side by side. I'd call that a fail, I guess. They were awesome. They'll all get eaten, dropping these off to my friends and family. If you liked this video, give us a follow. I hope you enjoyed.